You and your neighbor earn the same income, same city, same job title, same age. You apply for a loan, you're rejected. They apply for a loan, they're approved. Instantly. No explanation, no argument, just a quiet decision that reshapes two lives in opposite directions. This isn't bad luck, and it isn't random. There is a system that decides who gets credit and who doesn't. It rarely announces itself. It doesn't knock on your door, but it quietly decides who gets to move forward and who stays stuck. So who holds that power, and how does it really work? Let's start where most people never look. Right now, credit matters more than money. That sounds backward, but it's true. In modern economies, access to credit determines almost everything. Where you live, what business you can start, whether a crisis ruins you or barely touches you. Governments know this. Banks know this. Investors know this. Yet for most people, credit feels mysterious. You're told to build a good score, to be responsible, to wait your turn. But no one explains who designed the system or why it works the way it does. So let's simplify it. Credit is not about trust. It's about prediction. Lenders don't ask, is this person good? They ask, what are the odds this person pays us back, and how much can we earn? Everything else is decoration. Here's how the system actually works. Step 1. Data. Lots of it. Your payment history, your income patterns, your spending behavior, your debt, your age, your location. None of this is interpreted by a human the way you imagine. It's turned into probabilities. You're not approved or rejected as a person. You're approved or rejected as a risk profile, a statistical shadow of you. And here's the first uncomfortable truth. The system doesn't care why something happened. It only cares that it happened. Miss a payment because you lost your job? The system doesn't see context. It sees a signal. Signals stack, and once they do, they're hard to erase. Now let's talk about credit scores, the most misunderstood number in modern life. People treat them like report cards. Higher is good, lower is bad, but that's not what they are. A credit score is a pricing tool. It doesn't measure character. It measures how profitable you are likely to be as a borrower. High score, you're predictable, low risk, cheap to lend to. Lower score, unpredictable, more expensive, or not worth lending to at all. That's why the system behaves in a way that feels cruel. The people who already have money get access to cheaper credit. The people who need credit the most pay the highest price for it. Interest rates rise as risk rises. Fees multiply. Options disappear. Credit, in theory, is supposed to help people climb. In practice, it often reinforces where they already stand. This isn't a conspiracy. It's math, and math has consequences. Let's bring in some history. Modern credit scoring systems didn't exist until the mid-20th century. Before that, lending was personal, local, subjective. Banks knew families. They knew neighborhoods. They made judgments based on relationships. That system was biased, deeply. So scoring systems were introduced to make lending fairer, more objective, less emotional. And in many ways, they succeeded. But something else happened. As lending scaled up, so did automation. Human judgment was replaced with formulas. Formulas were replaced with algorithms. And now, most credit decisions are made in milliseconds. No human review, no appeal. Just a yes or a no. Quiet final. Now here's where the power really concentrates. Credit isn't decided by one institution. It's decided by an ecosystem. Credit bureaus collect data. Scoring models interpret it. Banks apply their own rules on top. Each layer adds distance, and each layer reduces accountability. If you're denied credit, who made the decision? The bank? The model? The data provider? No one can fully answer that, which makes the system powerful and opaque. Now let's talk about the hidden math. When a lender considers giving you credit, they're not asking one question. They're asking three. How likely are you to pay us back? How much will we earn if you do? And how much will we lose if you don't? That last question matters more than most people realize, because lenders don't just manage individual risk, they manage portfolios, thousands, millions, sometimes billions of dollars in loans. One borrower defaulting doesn't matter. Patterns do. If a group starts defaulting at a higher rate, credit tightens for everyone in that group, even if you personally did nothing wrong. This is where irony creeps in. You're told credit is personal, but decisions are often made at group level. Zip codes, industries, income brackets. You can be responsible and still be filtered out. Now contrast the hype with reality. We're told credit rewards discipline, that patience pays off, that good behavior is eventually noticed. Sometimes it is, but the system also rewards proximity. If you already have assets, credit flows toward you. If you already have stability, lenders compete for you. If you don't, the door isn't just closed, it's barely visible. This is why access to credit shapes inequality quietly over time, not through dramatic collapses, but through small differences that compound. One person buys a home early because they qualify. Another rents longer because they don't. One starts a business with borrowed capital. Another delays or never starts at all. 10 years later, the gap looks natural, earned, but trace it back, and you often find a credit decision buried near the beginning. Now let's zoom out. Credit doesn't just affect individuals, it shapes entire economies. When credit is cheap and plentiful, economies grow. When it tightens, growth slows. Central banks influence this by raising or lowering interest rates, but they don't decide who gets credit. They influence the temperature, not the flow. Banks still decide where money goes, and they follow incentives. Incentives reward safety, predictability, scale. That's why large corporations often borrow cheaply even when they're risky in other ways, and small borrowers face scrutiny even when they're careful. The system isn't evil, but it isn't neutral either. It quietly channels opportunity in certain directions. And now a new layer is being added: artificial intelligence. Credit models are becoming more complex, more opaque. They don't just analyze your past, they predict your future behavior based on patterns you'll never see. This raises an uncomfortable question. If you don't know why you were denied credit, how do you change the outcome? If the rules are invisible, who is accountable? The power behind credit decisions is quiet, but it's enormous. It decides who gets to take risks, who gets a second chance, who can smooth out a crisis, and who absorbs it directly. We rarely talk about this power because it doesn't wear a uniform. It doesn't give speeches. It just runs in the background. So the next time someone tells you credit is just about responsibility, pause. Ask a harder question. Who designed the system? Who benefits most from it? And who pays the price when access is denied? Because in a world where credit decides who moves forward, the most important question isn't whether the system works, it's who it works for.